How's it going?
Hi, everybody.
We're just finishing up our blizzards here.
I always get a small, and then I always say, why didn't I get a mini? Every single time. So, hey, welcome to not Monday Night Live.
This is monthly
Monthly
Night Live.
Night
we
Live.
are going to now be doing a monthly schedule, so hopefully we can have these planned and have good internet at each of the locations that we do them
Yeah,
at.
like this one we're at today, where we had to drive away from the campground and find a spot to set up and bribe our children with Dairy Queen in order to get them to leave.
We're coming to you from Canyon Lake, Texas, sort of near San Antonio,
Mm-hmm.
kind of between San Antonio and Austin. We're actually kind of at a sketchy picnic area that's away from the campground. It's probably a lovely
know that
picnic
it's
area, but it's
sketchy.
dark, so who knows what it looks like here?
It's so dark. Like, it's so dark. And here we are set up with camera, lighting equipment, the computer. Kids are back there in a truck watching Stampy videos about Minecraft. And we're eating Dairy Queen. But that is because we could not bring ourselves to say one more time that we were not doing a live on a Monday night. We apologize to all of you for the last 2 weeks before this live. We just had awful service and we were just couldn't get it going.
Okay, I'm done.
Wow. All right,
So,
you
that
talk
was-
for a minute because I've got
that
like
was mixed.
a ton.
That was mixed so badly.
Oh, it was this poor guy. Okay,
It was ice cream
yes.
here,
It-
and from here to here, and then candy, and then chocolate syrup.
Yeah, it was. Look, this we ordered 5. He made 8. We only got 5 of the 8 he made. 3 of them, I'm pretty sure, didn't have whatever that malt stuff is that they put in them. So I gave those to the kids and gave us the ones that had like the malt stuff in them. So it was a hot mess, and I didn't have time to work that out. But so many of you have been jumping in even before our faces showed up to share with us where you are coming from. For those of you on the East Coast getting smacked, like, I hope you're getting the snow and enjoying it. But boy, like, New York City is really getting some snow. So enjoy it. Enjoy the snow days.
We just spent a week and a half on the beach, so
We did. Let's not be those people. Let's not be those
No,
people.
we love
we'll
the
get,
cold too.
We'll get to it in just a second. I want to bounce back here because there was a comment on here that I feel like we just had to grab from Rick.
It actually is chilly here.
It is a little chilly. Here it is. Rick would like to know who this gentleman is sitting next to me because it's definitely not the Jason Epperson we all know.
Are we doing this? Are we telling this story?
Well, we told it on the. Did we tell it on the podcast?
No.
Oh, are we gonna tell this story?
So
How
my
Jason
my
lost his
beard
beard?
is
I guess we'll just tell this whole story.
my beard is quite a bit shorter, and if you're wondering why,
You know what though? Our parents are here, and they're gonna think
they're
that we're
going to
just-
judge us for the
They're
rest
gonna
of our
judge
life.
us for the rest of our lives on this one. Okay, go ahead. I'm just
All
gonna
right.
eat this ice cream.
So so Abby had decided that she wanted to try an ear candle.
Can we back this up a second
No,
and just preface why I needed that?
you got ear issues.
For the last three or 4 months, I have just been suffering with just clogged ears, clogged sinuses, really, really miserable. I've tried everything over the counter. I've Dr. Googled every possible symptom. Everything. I've not been able to get any relief. And it was recommended that I try an ear candle, which I had done in my crazy days of youth.
I'm sure you see where this is going
Yeah.
already.
So anyway, I'm just taking over this story. So we bought an ear candle a couple of nights ago because I was so miserable. And the thing with these ear candles is you lay down, okay, and then you put a towel around your head because you don't want to catch your hair on fire. And someone sticks this no drip wax candle like right here in your ear, and it's tubular.
It's like a really thin, long cone.
Maybe you know what we're talking about. For those
It
who
was
don't.
new to us.
Yeah, or to him. I had done it before.
Oh,
So you.
then what the heck happened?
I wasn't the one having to deal with the flame. So you light it on fire, and the suction helps just, well, they bill it as soothing, but it's supposed to kind of help draw things out. And when it burns about an inch, you're supposed to take it out of the person's ear, hold it over a thing of water, and cut it, okay? Because obviously you don't want to have ash. So Jason does that, and cuts it, puts it back in. It burns a little bit longer. It's time for him to cut it again. He cuts it, and the ash misses the bowl, and it's a big chunk, misses the bowl, hits the carpet. And so he jumps up and
There's
he's
like there's like a smoldering ember on our carpet, and I'm like, I don't want to burn our RV
so
down.
he jumps up. He's trying to clean it.
Dumping the bowl of ashy
He's
water onto
dumping,
it.
and I'm trying to get up, trying to get the towel off so I can come help him because obviously I'm like, oh my gosh, we don't want to burn down the RV. The kids are like, they are so not fazed by anything that's happening around them. This is just typical mom and dad. And he's got the candle still in his hand, and he's trying to get everything out. And I look over and I go, oh my God, Jason, your beard's on fire! I'm like smacking his face because his beard is on fire.
And it burnt all the way down.
It did.
Oh.
So I grab the candle from him, I shove it into the sink, I put it out, whatever. We pat his, it didn't get to his skin, just got on his beard. And so, of course we're like, well, let's do the other one. So we do that, and it didn't go well either. So we scrapped the whole thing, and and so he's sitting there, and like it's just kind of crumbling, and it smells.
Yeah, I thought maybe I lost like a half an inch of it, and then it like started crumbling off, and like, and then I went to go like to take a shower and to trim it down. And I kept trimming down a little bit shorter, and finally I'm like at the number 2 on the trimmer, and to finally get enough off that it's down to where it doesn't stink anymore.
Please know that we share this circle of trust, okay? We share the story inside the circle of trust because look, we all do silly things. That's how desperate I was. Like that's how desperate I was. And actually what ended up happening, so he gets a trim, whereas today I left very, very early this morning so that I could be the very first person at a Minute Clinic at a CVS to have my ears looked at. And what ended up happening was they were very, very impacted. I had 100% complete loss on this side. I was down to about 25% on this side. It took them an hour to be able to even get to see my eardrums. And then when they did, I've got fluid on one side, a slight infection. So now I've got an antibiotic.
And now she hears everything really loudly. So the kids are driving her nuts today.
I'm sitting in there, and this wonderful nurse that I met, who is like my San Antonio, like twin sister, who's into theater and all these things, and we're talking. When it finally happens and things pop for me and they open up, I thought she was screaming at me. Like it was so loud. I didn't know what to do with myself. So I'm a little under the weather today because my equilibrium's all off because my body has been so jacked up for like the last 4 or 5 months.
Here, look, see, Jason sacrificed his beard, saving your life. That's right. Saving our RV from burning down.
That is true.
And you know what? There's
y'all.
not even a mark on the carpet.
Heck no. We put trailer first before beard. I mean, come on.
But look,
Did you hear that? Oh my gosh, it's Henry.
Yeah.
I just thought it was a wild animal. This is like the time we did the live on the beach, and I was convinced that something was going to attack us.
The weird thing is it's pitch black, and then we've got this light in front of us, so it's even harder to see anything else.
Yeah.
Anyway, we're coming off of a wonderful time at Mustang Island State Park, which is where the incident happened. Thankfully, Mustang Island State Park has fantastic bathhouses where I was able to go trim my beard, scrub my face. Mustang Island is near Padre Island National Seashore, but it's the camp that has a campground, and we stayed in the campground for several days before moving to the beach, and we did a couple days of camping right on the beach, boondocking on the beach, which was a whole lot of fun.
What did you think?
And we brought a lot of sand with us.
What did you think of camping on the beach? Yeah, it was thumbs up. Yourself, you can look at yourself up there too. You actually called it boondocking, didn't you?
Boondocking. They coined a new word, boondocking. I love it.
Boondocking is what we did.
Feel free to use that.
Yeah, and you played really hard, right? And now today, they were sunburnt all weekend, and today they're back in their winter coats. So, there you go. All right, so we've got a few questions. I want to jump on here, and this one, someone just says, love your national park. Love your video about national park filming. Great news for those of us who visit and want to share our experiences. Are you cool?
It is good news. If those of you that aren't familiar, there was a ruling that happened a week ago, Friday, that a judge struck down the rules for commercial filming in national parks, which sounds like a great thing to have. Require permits for commercial filming. But that also affected like people like us and even like smaller creators and even there were concerns of if you posted to something to YouTube and didn't make any money at all off of it, YouTube's still making money off of that. So is it commercial? And the definition of commercial, it seems kind of obvious, but it's really not. And the National Park Service had a really odd definition of it. So the judge struck down that law because somebody sued. And
I'm just convinced things are touching me this whole
I assume
time.
it's going to mean we're going to have new rules about national park filming. But for now, it means there's not specific rules based on what type of content you create.
I feel like I just had to point this one out because we are a mess. And look, we have never professed to be anything, but life is messy. And sometimes you just have to stick a candle in your ear and burn your husband's beard off. Like it just happens. As a means to an end.
Jonathan says to watch out for armadillos. You know what? We haven't seen an armadillo in Texas yet.
No, we haven't.
So
tonight's probably the night.
Yeah, we took the drive up here yesterday, right?
Yep.
And it is quite a bit cooler up here than it was down on the coast, but it's still very nice to be in warmer weather than we were in over the holidays.
Absolutely. Yeah. So first off, I'd love to pose a question to anybody. And please feel free to ask us questions if you've got any questions you would like to ask. We would love to be able to answer them. But I'd love to know from anybody watching, have you camped on the beach before? And what was your experience? Because this was our first time doing it. We did just 2 nights. And I want to say, too, we did it with, if you feel intimidated about things like boondocking and stuff like that, let me just say that we did these 2 nights with nothing extra. We had no generator. We had no solar panels. We just had 2 regular old batteries on the trailer. We had a bunch of solar lamps that we would charge during the day, and we would use those to light up the rig at night and things like that. And that's all we had.
Yeah, and
we needed nothing more.
And a tank of water.
Yeah, we had 40 gallons of fresh water, and we had, we were able to put our awning in and out. We brought our slide in and out. We
had plenty of battery power left over at the end. The one thing we ran out of was water. Which is rare for us to only be able to go 2 days on a full tank of water, but we rinsed people off so often. Yeah,
you had to. I mean, what was so beautiful about this experience for us is that the kids, from just basically the minute they woke up until the minute they just collapsed into bed at night, they played outside and splashed in the Gulf and ran around and dug in the sand and built sand castles, and they spent their whole time outside. And we did too. We cooked outside. We played games outside.
No, not all of us.
No.
Jack, he spent every single second day inside.
Jack spent every single second of every single day inside. That's kind of not true. Remember, he did lay around in the sand listening to an audiobook. Henry's little voice is gone because he was running around and yelling so much over the weekend, especially on Saturday because it was very windy on Saturday.
You had to yell to hear each other because the wind was loud.
Yeah, and so Friday when we got there, it was beautiful. It was an absolutely, sorry, my eye is watering. It was.
I can see that for there because
you can.
I just don't want to see Daddy without his beard.
You kept saying when Daddy's beard got burned off, you just kept saying, "Oh, Daddy, your beautiful beard, your beautiful beard, Daddy."
It was amazing.
It was an amazing beard. He'll get it back. So anyway, Friday was beautiful. Saturday was very windy, and the winds were coming out of the southeast, so they were really... Are you leaving? Okay. So they were really creating some pretty intense waves. He's just going to steal this whole live, and that's totally fine because he's so cute. Bye, sweetheart. We'll see you.
Oh, he wants to disappear off into the distance.
Careful, don't fall. You fade away into the distance. I don't know where he gets this stuff. It's like he sticks ears in his candle, candles in his ear.
It's my brother's.
Anyway, Friday was great. Saturday was very, very windy. And on Saturday, because of the direction that the winds were coming from and because they decided to never let up, we did start to wonder if the tide was going to reach us.
One of us did.
Well, two of us should have been concerned. One of us was concerned.
It was fine.
It probably got within 4 feet.
No.
Just the last part.
The waves, like like once an hour a wave got within 4 feet of us. The actual tide, where the water line was still like 40 feet away. But every now and then a wave would make it up that far.
Yeah. It was still very
fine.
Some people were fine, some people weren't. And there's nothing wrong with that. We all experience things differently. And I experienced Saturday with a bit of stress because I just didn't want the water to come up and touch the wheels and like start pulling the sand. Okay? I didn't want that. Okay? We were in a good spot, and this will go into a question that we got asked, which is if we're ever worried about if we're ever worried about getting stuck in the sand. We weren't ever worried about being stuck in the sand, and we had been able to do a little research before we went to this particular spot because we had been over at the campground.
Yeah, we could walk down there and see where everyone was parked, and we could go at high tide and see where the tide was going, that sort of thing.
Yes, and so we did that for the whole week, and then we walked the length of the primitive camping to kind of get an idea of where we felt would be the best place for the RV that looked somewhat level, and the sand looked pretty compact. So in that respect, we were not worried at all that we were going to be able to drive off. We were not the only RVs out there.
No.
So, and we had seen RVs out there all week. So we felt really, really good about, our chances. It was just, I like being close to the water. I didn't like being that close to the water. Like, it was coming up over our mat and leaving debris from the Gulf on the mat. And I didn't want that.
I'm going to zoom the camera out a little bit.
Oh, I think that's a great idea.
I think we're close.
I feel like people are just like, they're probably
I'm too
wow.
close to myself.
I do feel like I'm really close to myself. So that was our weekend of, that looks so much better. That was our weekend of camping. And then we have now moved to the San Antonio area. And we have no idea where we're going when we are done here.
Nope.
No, we have not booked out anything yet. We have till, we're here till like 13th, 14th or something of February. And then we have no clue where we're going yet. So let's look
We
here.
had clues, but then we've changed everything. Somebody wanted to know when we're taking delivery on our new fifth wheel.
Oh, I'll let you field that one. We'll come back to...
I don't know where it went, but it's somewhere. Yeah. We have not ordered yet, but we think we have picked the one we want. We're there. We're starting to get pricing from dealership, that sort of stuff. So we're ready, and hopefully it's gonna be an order, so we're gonna be waiting several months for it. So I've been.
That's part of the reason why we don't know where we're going yet, because we need to get this thing ordered and then find out what the delivery of it's going to be.
We're gonna order it to be delivered for us to pick up in near the town it's manufactured in, because if you do that, and most RVs are manufactured in Elkhart, Indiana, or that area. If you do that, you don't pay the delivery charges, the destination charges, and those are pretty high right now. So, and we're going to probably be up near that area in the early summer anyway. So that's kind of the thought, is that hopefully we'll have it around May. I don't know.
Yeah, this is a great one. This is very sweet. Thank you, Texas Family Camping. So he's coming from YouTube and he's just asking you guys to give this a thumbs up. So if you are watching on YouTube or you're watching on Facebook and you want to give it a like or a thumbs up, that's awesome because
Yeah, if you don't know, we're live both
pushes-
on Facebook and several different places on Facebook and
everywhere.
on YouTube. It's multi-streaming. So if you're seeing us put up comments and you don't see them and we're wondering why, that's because we get a feed that has all the comments from all the different places, and you might not see all of those, but we'll see yours if you put it up.
Yeah, so I want to jump back to this one because this is a great question, and this is for you. Someone's wanting to know about some of the gear that we use. We haven't done that long awaited videos. We've said we were going to do.
Here's the thing. We've just recently changed up everything we use. Everything. So I'm going to be doing a video about what we use once I nail down my sort of system. But I can tell you, for podcasting, we had a Rodecaster, which for those of you that don't know is a podcast mixing board. We got rid of it because it was just too much to haul around with us, and we put so much focus on video now that it was easier for me to just have a single little recorder, and I didn't really need the call-in functions of that and stuff because I do that all in video. I do it through like Zoom and stuff when I have an interview. So, but I'll put a video together of what we use at some point soon.
I'll try to remind them too.
Yeah.
So I want to grab this question. We had another one. This is from Sarah over on Facebook, and she wants to know, how many days do you boondock? How much water do you need? Did you install solar? So we typically only boondock about 3, I think maybe 4 days at a time.
Our generator was stolen from us, for those of you that don't know.
Yeah.
And when we had our generator, we were probably good for 5-6 days if we really wanted to push it.
Yeah, the problem is that a lot of times when you boondock, you often don't have great connectivity. There are often remote locations, which is the whole point. It's beautiful, but from a working standpoint, we can't be away for that long from work. So generally, like we did on the beach, we had connectivity, but we knew we were beach camping, and it was the first time we'd ever done anything like that. So we busted our butts up until Friday and then took Friday, Saturday off.
And we knew 2 days was pretty much our max on batteries without a generator.
And on sand. Okay, I knew, look, by Saturday night. So here's something that's interesting about beach camping, at least at this time of year when we experienced it. Things got very, very humid. Okay, so Saturday night when we went to bed, there was a level of moisture just on everything. Like it just felt very, very damp. And it was not comfortable to like sleep with your comforter that feels damp. And so because we weren't able to run anything like our dehumidifier or something like that, we were just kind of at the mercy of the Gulf, and that's awesome. But between that and the sand, when I went to bed Saturday night, I was like, okay, 2 days is at this particular stage of boondocking for us is probably the most that I could do. We have done in the past, I think 12 days outside of Zion National Park. 2 reasons why we could do that for as long, actually 3, was because we had good service, so we were able to continue to work. We had a composting toilet, so that allowed us to extend longer with a family of 5.
Now that we don't have a composting toilet, we can go about 7 days on our black tank.
Yeah, and then we had our generator, so we could run that as needed. And that's when we were in our bus conversion.
There
so
were
it's been a few years.
also, outside of Zion, there's also convenient like in-town showers. Because those of you that boondock know that gray tank is often the thing that fills up first.
Yeah.
Either you're running out of water or you're filling up your gray tank. And you can always go get some more water and bring it back. So we could use the shower houses that are in the town of Springdale outside of Zion. So we look for opportunities where we can do that. We've done a decent amount of that kind of thing in the past. Like there's this chain of swim schools called Goldfish.
Oh my gosh, I forgot that we'd done
That
that.
we
Oh, wow.
they usually have like a $10 to $15 family swim, like an hour,
Gosh.
2 hour thing in the middle of the day. So we went there to have a family swim, but also to have showers. You know?
I forgot all about that. We've been very resourceful in the 4 years that we have been on the road. Ooh, that was a good piece of Snicker. So right now with the setup we have, I would say 2 to 3 days. Part of that is also because our refrigerator and stove are running off propane the whole time, so that can help extend. But it's really about our tanks. When we left on Sunday, we were out of water. We had used all 40 gallons in that 48 hours just to not bring an entire sand dune back into the RV with us. So it really depends on the situation. It really depends on where we are. It really depends on our setup. Now we hope to have solar, possibly a generator in our new RV, and then that will, because we'll have bigger tanks as well.
We should say we had been talking about getting solar on a live stream recently, so people are probably that might have been part of what spawned that question, is that we were getting a solar installation after the holidays, and that got back ordered and delayed and all kinds of stuff, and we just
Is that what we're calling it?
Well, yes, but the
Right.
customer service experience with the company was disappointing, so we canceled the order entirely. And that was sort of also when we decided we're going to be getting a new RV this year, so we figured we're not even going to buy a generator, we're not going to buy solar, we're going to wait until we get a new RV and figure out what we need and what we want to do.
So we have a generator question here. Generator hooked up directly, or do you use a surge protector?
Often the surge protectors, the basic surge protectors will work with them. The EMS systems, sometimes some people call them, or the power management systems, the higher end ones, often won't work with the generator unless you do some weird neutral bonding thing. You don't need to. The bottom line is the generator itself has electrical protections built in, so you really don't need to worry too much about it. If there's lightning, you're not tied to the power grid anyway, so that's not as much of a concern there. You don't have wires running through the ground. You don't have to worry about like over voltage, under voltage. Your generator is going to shut down in those situations, so it's not something that concerns me. And as a matter of fact, that's why a lot of RVs that have a built-in surge protector, built-in EMS system, have an on-off switch for that. It's so that you can turn it off when you use your generator.
I just have to grab this question before it disappears, because I do really appreciate Joy. We just have such a special place in our heart for Joy and Mike, but they know very much so that waiting in San Antonio is a 3-pound cinnamon roll, and
it's coming.
We are gonna get it.
It's a 45-minute drive to San Antonio from here, but we're gonna do it.
But we're gonna get that cinnamon roll. We're gonna have to get it to go. We're not gonna have the it's Lulu's, I believe. We're not gonna have the dine-in experience, but we will be getting it to go. We will probably also try our favorite pizza place in San Antonio. The name is escaping me, but we do have plans to spend the day in San Antonio. The children very much know that cinnamon roll is there, and I don't think we could get out of this city without going and doing that. I wanted to grab this question here from Sharon. She wants to know, or no, I'm sorry, the one above it, because these are both really similar. So what do we like? What do we dislike about our existing rig that is prompting a fifth wheel? So there's not much it's not so much a question of what we dislike. So we have a Heartland Pioneer QB300, which has been a fantastic rig for us. So the QB300 has a 3-bed bunk in the back with a table and a dinette back there for the boys.
It's perfect for 3 kids.
We are getting...
There's moths.
Moths are coming. They are coming. They're going to fly in front of the camera. If I squeal, pay no attention. It's not the computer. Go away. Oh, okay. And really, generally, it's 38 feet long. It has been... Jason!
It's just a moth.
Wasn't there a movie called like The Moth or something where like they attack?
Anyway,
it's been a great rig for us. It was a great transition from our school bus conversion into a travel trailer. But where we're at right now is oh my God, Jesus, it was on me. I can't.
you live in campgrounds.
I can't. Why not? They're coming after me. Okay.
It's because we're lit up.
Will you please talk? You talk. You talk. Just talk.
Our kids are getting older. They're getting bigger, and we find that we want a little bit more room. It's been tricky finding one that kind of actually gives us a better setup than what we have now. So, but we think we found one that does and offers us the ability to kind of like all hang out and watch a movie a little bit easier. All hang out and have dinner a little bit easier. Just the little things. And
but just more separation. We need a little. Yes. We need a little bit more. What on earth?
What?
I don't know.
There is nothing happening. You're just.
Hold on. I gotta get my feet up.
There's a couple technical questions that I want to answer.
Okay. Anyway.
Oh, Terry, thank you so much.
Oh, that's really
so incredibly nice of you.
Oh gosh, that's really nice. You didn't have to
really
do that.
Appreciate that.
Oh my gosh. I'd offer you a blizzard, but we're far away.
Did the salt air affect your trailer? I don't know. We're gonna get it washed as soon as possible. I'm gonna get the truck washed probably tomorrow, and then as soon as we roll out of this campground, I'm gonna wash the trailer. Mm-hmm. The jacks were a little bit more creaky coming up.
Yeah, the slide sounds a little bit more creaky as well. So we're definitely going to go and get, it might even be that we can wash just rinse off the underbelly here at the campground, and that we'll go do like a major clean on it. But
we're not going to say what the new rig is yet until it's, we're probably not going to say until it's delivered.
Yeah, I have like, I have this thing about putting the cart before the horse. And the kids.
Plus, we got to do like a big reveal thing.
Well, that too, but even at home, I try to manage expectations because I think, as we all know, especially after the last year, life just changes on an instant. So we love the home we have now, and if it just worked out that that's what we stay in,
that's fine too.
That's fine too, because we have a nice warm place to all be together, and that's really what matters at the end of the day.
Lori, yes, we are using StreamYard, and we do enjoy how simple it is. And another technical question along that line, Randy wants to know what lighting equipment we're using to film this. Our lighting is awesome.
A cheap old ring light.
We're not using the expensive lighting that I bought recently right now. This is a $14 ring light. But the reason it looks decent is that it's a DSLR camera with a nice lens attached to the computer, and that's made a big difference to us from jumping up from the webcam. It would not look like this at night when we were using the webcam on the computer. We'd be super, super grainy.
Oh yeah, it'd be really awful. So this is a common thing. This is, something that as we were looking at fifth wheels and trying to decide what would be best for our family, what we were really surprised by is how these bigger fifth wheels are not upping our gray tank storage at all. I don't know how we lucked out.
Some of them up the gray tank, but they downgrade the black tank, or they downgrade
the fresh water. So we landed with essentially 40, 40, 40. 40 fresh, 40 gray, 40 black on this travel trailer. That has been awesome because, especially if you're boondocking or we're just using the fresh water, we know that there's really no possible way we are going to go over on any of our tanks.
And if we're at a place where there's no sewer hookup, we can go further,
yes,
than just what's in our fresh tank without having to dump.
But I do think that this one that is our front runner right now pretty much has us at the exact same freshwater capacity and black tank capacity. We're going to gain a little in gray, which will be great, but we're pretty much going to stay exactly the same. So in that respect, with the fifth wheel, we're not gaining a whole lot that we don't already have. It really is coming down to us for space. I need a bedroom that I can go to and shut that door, and that door is not connected to the media center that is the living room. Like, I need a space. The kids need a space. When Jason is up late nights working, he needs to be somewhere where it's not impacting everybody else in the house. And so, you know, that's kind of just to get back to that question about why we're going up to something bigger. That was really it. And unfortunately, that did mean that some things like gray water, we kind of had to do a little bit of a compromise on.
Yeah.
Let's grab, this one?
Yeah.
All right. There we go. We have some new full-timers.
Congratulations.
Oh my gosh, that's so exciting.
With your 3 cats.
Congratulations. Well, 3 cats are probably, you know, I often say that getting my children to go somewhere is like herding cats. So you probably will be able to understand quite a lot what it's like to get kids just to get into the truck.
Our number one piece of advice is to travel much slower than you think you want to. Take your time. Don't go as far. Go, you know, people say, you know, I don't go more than 330 miles in a day or whatever it is. Try to go 100 miles in a day. It really makes all the difference in the world. And you can find amazing stuff everywhere. Don't feel like you have, especially as we're still dealing with the pandemic and all that. Don't feel like you have to get to all the top destinations right away. Take your time and go to find some of the cool, weird stuff that's all over the country.
Yeah, we've been on the road now. It'll be 5 years in August, which is amazing to be able to say that we've been on the road for 5 years. We recently bought one of those maps where you can like scratch off the states that you've been to. We have not done anything past North Carolina. The whole East has been untouched by us in almost 5 years.
North of North Carolina.
Sorry.
There's an ocean past North Carolina.
You know,
We've done this stuff south of North Carolina. Except South Carolina. We've done Florida, Georgia.
It's been a long day. Please forgive me. And so none of that's been touched yet. We haven't been over to the Pacific Northwest.
Yeah.
You know, there are swaths of this country that we have yet to visit because we just made, you know, obviously 2020 impacted a lot of that. Obviously the pandemic is really kind of calling the shots still on travel. But also, and perhaps this won't be your case, but you know, working and then also raising the boys in school and things like that slows us way down. And frankly, it's kind of exhausting after a while to move every single week. It gets really, really exhausting.
You know how vacations are a heck of a lot of fun, but you're kind of worn out at the end of them.
You need a vacation from your vacation.
You can't have your life feel like that. You need to. You can't tour like tourists do.
Yeah, absolutely. So, my mom just said something was on my arm. Oh, great. That's fantastic.
It wasn't. She's giving you a hard time.
No, she's not. She's probably serious. So someone wants to know if there is a map with Army Corps of Engineer campsites that you would recommend. I think they have their own, right?
There's a book that a lot of people get, you know, because before
the interwebs?
I don't want to say before the internet, before the government caught up with the internet and was able to start putting stuff online. It's still rough. But 98% of Army Corps of Engineer campgrounds are on recreation.gov. Mm-hmm. The only ones that aren't at this point are ones that don't take any reservations, and they're few and far between at this point. Anyway. But you can still find them on on places like All Stays, which is a great app that we use kind of less and less, or Campendium. Mm-hmm. But we find all of our federal campgrounds on recreation.gov. That's just the easy. You know, a lot of people hate recreation.gov. I actually find it to be.
I don't mind it. I use the app.
It's got some issues, but it's better than 90% of private campgrounds websites.
This was really sweet. I just wanted to make sure that you saw that again, because Mike and Joy. So that makes me, I'm pretty sure this confirms for me that you guys have put some roots down somewhere, and I'm very, very, very happy for you. Arizona is a beautiful place to do that. And boy, would we be really honored to be able to see the two of you and spend some time with you in a less stressful environment.
Yes.
we owe you a few drinks, and so
Sherry wants to know about our mirrors.
Yes.
Okay, so if you've been listening to the podcast,
Mm.
sorry, I didn't mean to cut that off.
No,
Joy,
that's
Mike,
fine.
we,
That's
absolutely.
fine. That's fine. You want to talk about these truck mirrors because this has been on your mind.
Well, if you have been listening to the podcast, we had 2 separate trucks clip our 2 mirrors on either side of the truck within 1 week, and they ripped off on one side. They ripped off the cover for the turn signal that's on the mirror. On the other side, they ripped off the entire turn signal and broke one of the mirrors. So I was able to order.
So Bush League.
I was able to order replacement turn signals and a replacement piece of glass for the mirror. So I replaced the turn signal and the mirror on one side myself, and the other side I can't do because you can't get the turn signal off without taking the glass off. So it was actually fortuitous that they broke the glass because that was the only way I was able to get to the turn signal. So now I either have to, I don't know, I'm gonna
try to melt it off.
I'm gonna have to get a heat gun and melt it off or something.
Yeah. So I think it took you to replace that one though,
it's like 5 minutes.
15 minutes or something.
Well, it took me more. The most time was taking all the pieces of glass that were stuck in glue off of the plate that holds the mirror. That took me a while.
So here's one. Virginia wants to know about getting a composting toilet and joining our black and gray tanks together. So we've been seriously considering that. We're not quite sure that we want to do that yet. I mean, we did do a composting toilet for 3 years.
If we had a 2-bathroom trailer, we would definitely be putting a composting toilet in one of them.
Yeah, so the 5th wheel we are looking at is still only going to come with one bathroom. And we made that decision because, again, it comes down to space. And having that second bathroom takes away living space from either the boys' room, the actual overall living space. We really wanted a living room where 5 people could sit.
Well, let's be honest, too. We're just limited on options. As many floor plans are out there.
Yeah.
It's still really hard to find one that's just right for you.
Absolutely. And in the budget, you set a budget for yourself and, you try your best to stick to it. And so then you have to make compromises. And so one of those is that we, it's not awful just having one bathroom, whatever.
So we've heard that people do that. What I would probably do instead is I would probably just plumb the liquid from the composting toilet into the old black tank.
And then just have that.
And just have that be the liquid.
Yeah. I mean, I would defer to you on if we decided to go this route because Jason was the composting toilet caretaker in our family when we had it, and now he is the black tank caretaker.
The problem is the underbellies are so sealed up these days. Would I want to tear apart the underbelly on a new rig to plumb those two together? If it was an older one, I wouldn't care. But
I mean, I think you guys have probably heard us say several times too how not interested we are in having to work on anything after and that's after
building our first rig.
Yeah, we just are not. If we're gonna go and gut something again, we're gonna gut it down to it's bare bones and rebuild it. Otherwise, we're just gonna lovingly take it as it comes to us. This is a really interesting question I thought we would grab. Have you had any tornado issues during your RV adventures? Greetings from the Jersey
We haven't had a tornado. We had a scary storm that thought could cause tornadoes one time when we were in the Ocean Springs, Mississippi area. Yeah. And we actually that was when we were in the bus. We left our bus in the campground, Davis Bayou Campground, and stayed in a hotel that night.
Yeah.
It was one time in 4.5 years that we kind of had that feeling that this storm, people are really saying this is an area that gets lots of storms, and they're saying it's going to be real serious. Let's listen. And it was real serious.
Yeah, and here's the thing too. We have actually had more issues with wind and really intense wind gusts than probably any other weather situation the entire time we've been RVing. And actually, that's really been over kind of this last year. Now, I'm sure a lot of that is that the difference between being in a trailer that's only 9,000 pounds as opposed to a school bus.
It's also where we go, too. We've spent a lot of time in the West these last couple years, too.
Yeah. But, even down in Corpus Christi in Texas, we had 2 of the 9 days that we were there where we were under wind advisories for those days, and we were, getting gusts of up to 40 miles an hour, which, depending on which way your RV is facing,
it makes a big difference.
Is the difference between feeling like you're on a boat that's just going back and forth, or you're not getting anything.
But nothing dangerous. It's just annoying, and
No, and the only time we've really encountered tornadoes is when we've been visiting my family in Kansas City. And in that case we've been in a house, and but that's, whatever. I grew up around tornadoes, so I feel more comfortable with that than I do trying to manage the anxiety I get.
Abby will be outside looking at them while I'll be down in the basement with the kids.
Well, somebody's got to keep us all informed on what's going on. Don't you want to know if it's going to touch down? Because I do. Don't you want to watch it? So here is another question we've got. I wanted to grab, Sarah is saying, we have to use Reserve America and recreation.gov for all of our camping around here, but it's all pretty much dry camping. That's something interesting too about Reserve America and especially recreation.gov. Even if you are going to be dry camping, a lot of times you're still going to have to make a reservation, and you're going to have to make it online. This is something we've noticed over the last year, especially, is that most of these campgrounds are no longer allowing you to do walk-ups. And
now, even if some of them are starting to let you now do a walk-up, but you have to call and make the reservation, or make the reservation online right then and there on the internet. A year ago, we had some issues where it'd be you arrive at a campground and they have no way to give you a reservation. If it is within 48 hours, there's just a cutoff to anybody camping. And I think a lot of that started to go away.
Oh no, sorry. Look what I just read. Rob, really? Oh no. I'm going to have to buy 4 packs of Pillsbury donut cinnamon rolls.
Well, good for them though.
Squish them.
Not good for them, but
oh,
they're
man.
taking care of themselves.
Yeah, I hope that this isn't a closed forever due to COVID situation, but just closed until they feel that they want to open back up.
Oh, yeah.
But I am going to have to squish a whole bunch of cinnamon rolls together. Make our own version.
It's Texas. Somebody else sells giant cinnamon rolls, guaranteed.
Wow. Okay, well, I'm glad I saw that. Oh, that's crazy. So here's another question from Susan. So I have 5 dogs. How much trouble am I going to have at campgrounds? Do they have limits on how many dogs you can have with you? I've tried to rent cabins before and couldn't because of the number of dogs I have. Would I rent that as well?
Most private campgrounds do have a 2-dog limit. Sometimes they even have a weight limit.
Yeah.
Most public campgrounds, so state parks, national parks, all the different federal campgrounds at Army Corps of Engineers, U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, National Forests, those you shouldn't have issues with in general, except for the fact that in some of those places, especially national parks, dogs are not allowed on most trails in national parks. A lot of people think dogs aren't allowed in national parks, and that's not true. Generally, you're allowed to have them with you. You're allowed to go to a scenic overlook or something. It's just usually they're not allowed on trails. Sometimes there is a trail or two that you can take dogs on. Usually it's a paved trail, but they tend to not allow you to take them out into the wilderness.
Yeah. So we don't travel with any. We don't travel with any animals, but we do know just even our friends who have just 1 or 2 dogs.
This doesn't work when we're on camera.
Stop.
Dang.
Stop. Speaking of, I just want to say that yes, Dale, a moth does scare me, and I don't want it on my face.
She got so mad at me yesterday because
I will go out for that tornado every day.
She gave me this frightened look, and she's looking up at the ceiling, and I looked up, and I knew I was going to see a spider.
It was about this.
I was expecting to see. This was the smallest spider I have ever seen. It was smaller than my pinky nail.
No, its tentacles were like this, and it was going up our ceiling like this.
But if
and I
they're
needed him to kill it.
flies, she will be out there
I am
like Rambo,
listen,
slaughtering
I am
them.
like Mr. Miyagi with the flies. Okay, give me the chopsticks, and I will get it every single time. I don't care about flies, but I don't want a moth on me, and I have zero issue going out and seeing if the tornado is going, if the funnel is going to come down and touch down anywhere in the area. Absolutely no issue whatsoever. So we have another question. Blue, 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 blue. I lost it. It was about batteries. Oh, which batteries are you using? Well, what was Walmart selling that day,
we
Jason?
We have 2 100 amp hour Walmart wet cell batteries.
Yep.
That's what we have.
That's all we have. And again, so we've had this conversation back and forth about, are we going to get lithium? Do we just want to stick with what we have? Do we just want to do solar and not lithium? I mean, it's the never ending debate. And I think, everyone has their own school of thought on it. And ours is undecided.
Our new rig will be set up for us to expand however we want to, I think is the goal. Like we'll have, if we want to expand the solar, we will. If we want to expand the battery capacity, we will. I think we'll move to lithium at some point. But
yeah,
we knew this trailer going into it was going to be a 2 to 3 year trailer for us. This next one will probably be a little bit longer term.
See, my dad gets me. See, this is why I'm glad to have my parents around. My mom will tell me there's a moth on my sleeve, and then my dad and I will go out and look for tornadoes together.
And we will be the ones that survive.
Yeah. Look, the last time that happened, I was able to inform you that the tornado had touched down about 10 miles from where we were, 10, 15 miles. I was able to see it, and I watched it move across, and thankfully it didn't do too much damage. Nobody lost their life in it, and I was able to stand on the back deck and accurately say it's not going to come to us because I just watched it go across Grandview. Okay?
It could have just picked you up.
Look,
instead,
listen. I've said this before on our lives. I love that movie Twister, and I would be in those truck. I would be in that truck with them in a heartbeat. I would be out with storm chasers. I think it's thrilling. So there we go. We are getting close, though, kind of to the end. I haven't heard from my kids in a while, so hopefully they're all still in the
Bo wants
truck.
to know if we've ever RV'd in winter. Yes, unfortunately.
Yeah.
No, actually, it can be fun when you intentionally do it. We got stuck in North Dakota. You can learn all about it if you go to our backlog of our podcast. But we were stuck in North Dakota for many, many weeks for health reasons into the winter, and it was interesting.
It was interesting. But you know what? Tonight, it's going to get down to, I don't know, 34.
We had 8 inches of snow when we were in Waco last time. So
I just want to point out that the amount of snow we got in Waco, every time you tell the story, it gets bigger and bigger.
It was 8 inches.
No, honey.
The forecast.
If anyone goes to the podcast, you're going to say like 5 inches.
The forecast was for 8 inches. I remember. The forecast was for 8 inches.
This could go so many places.
It ended up being 5 to 6. Jesus.
Every time you tell this story, it just it's before you guys know it. Next time he's going to tell you the story, and we will have been under 2 feet of snow in Waco, Texas. So
I'm having trouble hearing you.
You're welcome.
Oh,
You're welcome, Frank. I just wanted to say that.
Siri is talking to me.
Oh my
goodness. So someone, here we go. I'm struggling with batteries right now. I camp in cold Minnesota weather, and lithium is not good in cold weather.
From what I understand, they're starting to solve that by basically putting heaters on the batteries. So look into some of the new lithium technology. I know Battleborn has some new batteries that have the ability to sort of heat themselves. And I think the problem, and I'm no expert on batteries, but I think from what I understand, the problem with lithium batteries is charging them in the cold, which is obviously something you need to do. But I'm fairly certain that that's something they've found ways to solve.
There you go. So we have another question here. This is from Cecilia. And we only have a gray tank and need a better hose. Do you have a list of good ones? They're in a 20-foot RV.
A lot of people love those 0G hoses.
Yeah, those have been really popular in the Facebook group right now.
We've never used one. We always just buy the white Camco hose. And maybe we should buy a nicer hose because we keep having issues with our hoses leaking eventually. But part of me doesn't want to buy a nicer hose because we keep having issues with the hoses leaking eventually. But whatever you do, obviously make sure you get drinking water safe hose. That's really important. A lot of people say, I grew up drinking out of the hose.
Okay, but
and I was fine.
But give more than just like I'm telling you something's over there.
There's nothing over there.
What is that? Look, I have my hearing. I am like superpowers now with my hearing. You thought I heard everything before. You just wait, mister. I got 100% firing on both of these ears now.
The drinking water safe hoses are the big thing is that the fittings don't have any lead in them, where garden hoses generally the fittings have lead in them, and the hose part in a garden hose is often made from recycled electronics, and on a drinking water hose it's BPA free and good for you to drink out of. Plus the white actually does make a difference in terms of like the heat that they attract, because those hoses, you can turn your water on. If that hose is sitting coiled in the sun, you can get like really hot water coming out of that hose when you're expecting cold.
Yeah, it's yes, I'll just agree with you on that. So this is a really great question, actually, Rusty. And I don't think anyone's ever asked us this before in the 3.5 years we've been doing this. Have your arguments increased or decreased since going full time? I think we have to divide that up into 2 categories.
What kind of arguments?
Yeah. Actually, is it, what day is it? And does it end in, day?
I think it's stayed the same.
Well, no, I'm going to say it's increased. And this is why I'm going to say it's increased. It doesn't have anything to do with being full-time. I think a little bit of that. Like, sometimes we all just need our own space, right? Like, it doesn't matter how much you love people. Sometimes you just need to be away from them. That's true. I mean, I love all of you, but I also sometimes like to just...
Oh, I know it. Go to Target for 4 hours.
That's the only place I can be left alone. No, I wanted to say I feel like we have to put it into 2 categories for Jason and I. One is our personal life, marriage, family, parents, arguments. And then the ones that are born out of our business and the fact that we work together and we do everything together. So every aspect of our lives, we are intertwined with one another. He doesn't go off to a job for, 9 hours. Yeah. I don't go off to a job for 9 hours. We work together and we live together.
So
and,
it's more about starting a business together than the fact that we live in an RV and travel.
Yeah, and I think a lot of our arguments sometimes are born out of our disagreements on work, and we do absolutely disagree from time to time on how things should be handled in our business and how we should go about them. Like, I'm not gonna lie, Monthly Night Live has been a very long conversation between Jason and I for about the last 5 or 6 weeks.
We didn't argue over it, though.
We didn't argue. We had some discussions because we each wanted to go a different way with this. But at the end of it, it's that I don't know that it would matter if we lived in a 10-foot trailer or a 5,000 square foot house.
But we've always lived fairly small. We were in apartments before we moved into an RV, and I could see a couple that lives in a bigger house and has a den to retreat to and that sort of stuff. That being a big adjustment. Yeah,
and I would say too that before we got on the road, it was very much, Jason was working 2, sometimes 3 full-time jobs. He's working 70, 80 hours a week in the theater. He was teaching. He was gone all the time. So Jason really had his own life and his own path in some respects. And then I was home full-time with the kids, and I was raising 3 kids and homeschooling, and the kids and I kind of had our lives. And when we got on the road, there was this crashing of two very different worlds in some respects. Now, Jason would come home from work when we would see him, and maybe he'd be home in time to put the kids to bed. Often he wasn't. And so when those worlds crashed for like the first year of being on the road, there was a lot of relearning about how to coexist as a family of 5 as opposed to a family of essentially 4, and then this one person that floated in and out of it, because
that's why we did it.
Right. I mean, yes,
yeah.
Because you did that for us in order to provide, for us and for the kids. And then we made this decision in order to still provide for us, but to be a family. And so a lot of that first year was a real struggle to learn how to do this life and do this life as 5. Then as our business grew and we started to integrate, and Jason kept saying, I've got an idea for a podcast. I've got an idea for a podcast. I've got one more idea for a podcast. Those things grew. And so there's always stressors.
I've learned not to, after the third one, I've learned not to tell you my ideas because you make me do them.
I know, because you thought you would say to me, I have an idea for a third podcast. And then I'd be like, go away. And instead I was like, that's an excellent idea.
Can I sell ads on it?
That's an excellent idea. Can you write 3 full, 12-page papers every single week? Because that's what you're going to have to do. I mean, this is true. Just because you love them doesn't mean you want to spend every waking moment together. It's exhausting. Yes, absolutely.
And you shouldn't feel guilty about that. You don't have to spend every waking moment together.
Spirited discussions is my way of saying, I don't want to say that we were arguing.
We'd be better off if we had spirited discussions is probably the best way to put it.
I will say we have learned over time that taking a walk, just the two of us, and we do this a lot, there's a reason why we walk around the campgrounds as much as we do, because it allows us to maybe have some of those conversations that we don't want to do in front of our kids, because we're just having a really hard time getting along. And so sometimes we go and we take a walk together, or we take a walk by ourselves, but we go and we take a walk, and we have those tough discussions where we feel like we have some privacy, because that's the one thing that does lack a little bit, is that we don't have the privacy to have grown-up conversations. And I don't mean like using grown-up language or things like that, but just tough conversations that you can't have with your little people until you've had them out between the two of you. And so that is the one thing that's tough about full-time family travel, is that there's really nowhere to escape to.
Yeah, like our bedroom is a bed.
Yeah.
And that will be one of the things that changes in our new fifth wheel, is like it will be a bed with room to walk around the bed. And that makes all the difference in the world. You can sit on the edge of the bed. You can.
Yes.
Somebody can stand and somebody can sit. It makes all the difference in the world.
Yeah, it really does. So this is another one. How do you save money full timing? We tried, but we found it difficult. We don't.
It's not cheaper.
Listen, we have said this a lot. I think for the way we travel, and I don't think that we don't do a whole lot of private or resort camping, but this life, depending on the budget that you set for yourself, is no different than the life you had.
Well, I mean, that's not true. I mean, part of it is like, what we said was the reason we did this was so I could be, but the thing is, we do this now. The places we go and the stuff we do and some of the places we visit, a lot of it's to create content. If we wanted to go places where, there are lots of places here in South Texas where we could be getting a monthly rate of like $400 a month.
Yes.
And doing that sort of thing. And a lot of people do that. I think that's your best option is to get those long-term rates at places, even if it's just weekly rates.
But my point with that was being between, unless you're just going to do monthlies and in off seasons and things like that, between the fuel to travel, the campground, perhaps you end up having to take a loan out on your trailer, and perhaps you'll have a loan on your automobile or whatever. It's not, for a lot of us, going to amount to, throw in $1,000 extra a month into savings or anything like that. You're still raising kids. Kids are expensive. They be eating so much.
The big
food.
expense for us before getting on the road was Chicago.
Yes.
It was living in an apartment in Chicago with Chicago prices for everything. And all that sort of
We
stuff.
were paying $1,400 a month for a 3-bed, 1-bath, second floor walk up, no in-unit washer and dryer, no dishwasher, just a traditional Chicago brownstone. $1,400 a month. That was not including then, the electric cost or owning an automobile. And, heaven forbid, if you wanted to have a garage space, you were going to pay more for that.
But if we rented an apartment the same size as our RV in a small town, first of all, you'd have a hard time finding one that small. Or a cabin the same size as an RV. No question it would be cheaper.
Yeah.
No question, because you don't have the travel involved. You don't have the truck that gets 11 miles a gallon if you're lucky. You don't have the insurance on the 2 vehicles. There's lots of different things that come into play with that. But the trade-off is, we're not saving for vacations either, because we're always vacationing. We're having we're enjoying our lives doing this, and that's great. But we work full time, no question. I mean, it's not.
we both now we're both working full time. Yeah. It's just that we do it in the same room with our children, like 5 feet away, or over in a truck watching YouTube right now at almost 8 o'clock at night. I wanted to grab this one because what, Debbie, we have a 13-and-a-half-year-old, and that kid, even with his headphones on.
He doesn't hear anything when he doesn't want to, but then he hears everything.
But if he notices, he can tell the shift change, like just in our faces. If we go from like, hey, we're talking to like, hey, so I wanted to talk to you about, he just knows.
He knows to press pause.
He knows, and then he's like,
what are you
talking about?
Then he's listening with his headphones on, so it looks like he's not listening, but he is.
Yeah, and so we have a little bit of that. You know what? We have it with our other two as well when they are having their device time. Except I'm pretty sure when Henry does it, our littlest, he can 100% hear us, and he's pretending like he can't. I'll sit there and be like, Henry, and then I'll be like, want a piece of chocolate? Hey, Mom. Hey. All of a sudden he's able to hear again.
He'll yell, Mom, I'm hungry. and you'll be like, what do you want to eat? Here's your food. What do you want? And he doesn't take his headphones off for a response.
I need to, you know what? I really need to start getting those boys cooking a little bit more. They need to start learning how to make their own.
Especially because most of what they eat is pulling something out of a box.
Stop. Don't tell people what our children eat. Between almost burning our RV down, and I think we've already talked about what our kids eat, but between almost burning our RV down, your beard catching on fire, and then we tell people what our children eat, people not come back. They're like, you are a level of hot mess that I cannot accept. So on that, we're rolling into about 8:10. So we should probably start wrapping this up for the night. There's a moth sitting on the camera that's telling me it's time to go.
It is literally on the camera. I might move to the lens. We'll see.
Yeah, I can't handle those things. So it has just been an absolute delight to talk to all of you tonight, and it has been great to get back to this. We will be back on the first Monday of March for Monthly Night Live, but we are from time to time going to just pop on live.
Yeah, I would probably do some live streams on YouTube of just like some RV industry related things now and then, I think.
Jason loves to just talk. So that's a perfect,
I really don't.
It's a perfect platform. You know what? Can I say this?
Not a small talker.
I know.
So introverted.
This is what's amazing to me. You all get more words out of Jason in a video that he makes than I probably get out of him week long.
When we record the podcast or sit and do this, it's the most conversation we have.
This is the most, literally, this is probably why we like to do it so much, because it's the most just like chill interaction we have with each other, where we're not having to like read a script or wearing headphones or, whatever. But like most of the time it's just, hey Jason, what you did, and then he just goes, yeah, that's fine.
I'll just go,
Or I'll say, what do you think about this? Sounds good.
Because it does.
Good. Great.
Why do we need to talk about it? It's done.
I know.
It's done.
See here, spirited discussions.
I'm avoiding the spirited discussions. I'm just agreeing with you.
Yeah.
That's what I'm supposed to do, right?
I know. Well, that's why we're on monthly night lives now instead of weekly. So good job, babe. So anyway, thank you all so much for joining us tonight. Please feel free to drop some questions. I'll grab this one really quick because I think this is a really nice one. Someone wants to know what you used to teach.
I was the head of theater technology at Columbia College Chicago, which was one of the biggest theater programs in the country.
That's where we both actually went to school there.
We went to school there, and then I ended up teaching there. And I taught like stage management, production management, those types of things, lighting.
And then they would do this thing when they knew that Jason was off for the summer, so they would hire me for the summer. Because they knew that Jason was off for the summer, so then they would come and ask me to teach their summer musical theater intensive, which would usually last about 6 weeks. 2 weeks, 5 days a week. And so then we would trade places over the summer, and Jason would be at home with the kids, and then I would go down to Columbia and teach. But we both went to school there, and then they ended up snagging him for 5 years.
7 years.
7. Oh yeah, that's right. Because then you got the 5-year contract. So for 7 years he taught at Columbia, and if there's anyone on tonight that's from Columbia or knows Columbia, we loved that school. We loved our instructors there and the people there. We miss them all very, very much. And there's
Amanda.
Speaking of, so Amanda and I went to school together. We spent a lot of time in the musical theater department together, and it's so wonderful to see her because I know that right now she's home, and that just fills my heart with a lot of joy that she and her little lion are home. So again, now we're really leaving. Thank you all so much for joining us on Monthly Night Live. We will be back, but you can always find us across social media, especially in the RV Miles Facebook group. If you haven't had a chance to go over and join, that's a really great place with a lot of really nice people. But we try to stay pretty busy in there and just interact, and not necessarily like try to answer everything, but just to hang out with you guys and to chat. So that's a great place to reach us. And of course, you can always find us on the RV Miles podcast, which comes out every week, the America's National Parks podcast, and the See America podcast.
A lot of y'all don't listen to podcasts. Podcasts are awesome. You should get a podcast app on your phone and listen.
Yeah. All right. Take care, everyone. Have a really, really great night, and we will see you very, very soon. Go Chiefs! Bye!
Bye. You gotta hit the end.
I don't know where the button is. You hit the end.
The big red button. It says end broadcast.
No, you didn't even do it right. See, now